Racial division continues to tear apart our great cities, the last episode being this spring in Los Angeles. Why is this still happening in America, and what would you do to end it?
All right, this is a relevant question here tonight. First thing I'd do is during political campaigns, I would urge everybody to stop trying to split this country into fragments and appeal to the differences between us and then wonder why the melting pot's all broken to pieces after November the 3rd. We are all in this together. We ought to love one another because united teams win and divided teams lose. And if we can't love one another, we ought to get along with one another. And if you can't get there, just recognize we're all stuck with one another because nobody's going anywhere, right? Now, that ought to get everybody back up to let's get along together and make it work. Our diversity is a strength. We've turned it into a weakness. Now, again, the White House is a bully pulpit. I think whoever's in the White House should just make it absolutely unconscionable and inexcusable. And if anybody's in the middle of a speech at a one of these conventions, I would expect the candidate to go out and lift him off the stage if he starts preaching hate, because we don't have time for it. See, our differences are our strengths. We have got to pull together. In athletics, we know it. See, divided teams lose, united teams win. We have got to unite and pull together, and there's nothing we can't do. But if we sit around blowing all this energy out the window on racial strife and hatred, we are stuck with a sure loser, because we have been a melting pot. We're becoming more and more of a melting pot. Let's make it a strength, not a weakness.
Did you hear that, Democrats? Did you hear that, Republicans? Did you hear that, MAGA? Did you hear that, Antifa? Matter of fact, did you hear that all around the world? Where is Ross Perot when you need him? You know, it was my second presidential election where Ross Perot came onto the scene. And I'm going to tell y'all straight up, I voted for Ross Perot. I know he had his faux pas, and somebody's going to bring it up who remembers where he said, "you people." The man's not perfect. But notwithstanding that, the man was on to something. The man was ahead of his time in being able to see that the same problems that we had back in, what was that, 94, I believe, 92, 94, that the same problems that we had back then is the same problems we have now. We have actually, in the last 8 years, gotten worse. We've gotten worse with the development of Antifas and MAGAs and Republicans and Democrats being more and more divisive than ever before in my little short history of life on this planet in this form. Because when you can understand the alchemy of what Ross Perot is saying, the hermeticism of what Ross Perot was saying back then, is that his alchemical mind was demonstrating that if we don't rise above our lower base mentalities of separating ourselves by race and gender, by political party, by trying to be right and everybody else is wrong, of we got to force Christianity in the schools in Oklahoma and Louisiana because they are 47th and 49th in education instead of bettering the education. It is not morality of Christianity that will better education. It is better education. It is better teachers. It is teachers getting paid. It is teachers not having to pull money out their pockets. It is the schools having all the resources that they require. It is the schools all having the equal, every student having the equal opportunity to take every class. The betterment is when your resume hits someone's desk and they look at your qualifications and they don't look at your name and say, "oh, he's from India. I don't want to bring him in because I can't pronounce his name," or "he's from India and I just don't like him. That name looks black and I don't want to hire a black person. That names look white, and I don't want to hire a white person. Just simply looking at the resume and saying, these are the best qualified people. Now let me bring them in and see if their character will be best fitted for the team that we already have, that they will be an addition, not a subtraction. You see, when we look at the world and we stop fighting over resources and we stop fighting over territories and fighting over who has the biggest army and the biggest gun, and start fighting over who's treating each other, their own citizens, better, and who's treating their neighbors better, when that's the competition, that's when the world gets better. That's when our mind and our consciousness elevate to a higher plane, and the world, the group mind, the shared consciousness of all the world begins to elevate. And for those who are lacking in that, as the way that the group minds work is that most of them will come along and join in the raising of the mind. Only about 16% will try to stay stuck, but only when they have no other options will they then come on board. So Ross Perot, we need you, man. We need you. But y'all have a great day. And remember always, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.